a sound or you'll wake them in the deepest part of the ancient forest. The flickering candlelight illuminates the faded pages of a story. Hedgehog still sits and tells the stories that people dare not tell before.
The Weaver of Lost Things. Prologue, the town that forgot. At the edge of the known world, nestled in a valley perpetually draped in a soft, grey mist, lay the town of Oblivion. It was not a cruel place, but a quiet one. Its inhabitants lived simple, unremarkable lives, their days blending into one another like the muted colors of a faded tapestry. They forgot small things easily, where they left their keys, a neighbor's name, the reason they walked into a room. They also forgot larger things, the stories of their grandparents, the old songs, the taste of strawberries in high summer. This was not a natural affliction, it was the price of their peace. Centuries ago, a great despair, known as the Gloom, had swept across the land. It was not an army, but a creeping nihilism that rotted the will to live, turning vibrant cities into tombs of silent, waiting corpses. The people of the valley, desperate, made a bargain with a forgotten, lesser god. The god, who called itself the Weaver, offered them a sanctuary. It would spin a great veil over their valley, a barrier made of forgetting. The Gloom fed on memory and sorrow. It could not thrive where nothing was remembered. The bargain was struck. The veil was woven, and Oblivion was saved. But the Weaver's magic was precise. To keep the Gloom out, the veil had to gently, constantly, siphon away the memories of those within. Not all at once, but drip by drip, until the past became a shapeless blur and the future held no ambition. The people forgot the despair, and in time, they forgot the Weaver itself. All that remained was the quiet, grey peace. And the looms. Every household had a small, silent loom in the corner, a relic of the pact. No one knew why they were there, only that they must never be removed. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Collected. In this town lived a girl named Anya. She was 17, with eyes the color of the twilight sky and a peculiar, dangerous habit. She collected memories. While others forgot, Anya clung. She kept a secret journal, its pages filled with sketches and hurried words. The way the light fell through the bakery window at 4 p.m. The exact sound of the blacksmith's laugh. The story old man Hemlock had told her about a sky full of stars before he forgot it himself. She pressed flowers between the pages, their scent a ghost of a season past. She hid shells from the riverbank, their whirls and patterns a testament to a time when she had been curious. This made her strange. She was the remembering girl, a title spoken with a mixture of pity and unease. Her own parents would sometimes look at her with a faint frown, as if trying to place a familiar face. The constant forgetting of those around her was a lonely, private agony. Her only sanctuary was the attic of the old clockmaker, Silas. Silas was the closest thing the town had to a remember, for he worked with intricate gears and springs that held their patterns. His memory was not perfect, but it was stickier than most. "Your collection is a dangerous thing, Anya," he would say, his voice like the whisper of old parchment. He pointed a trembling finger at the ever-present mist outside his window. "The veil protects us. To remember is to invite the shadows back in." "But what does it protect us from?" Anya would insist, clutching her journal. "All I know is this grey. All I feel is this, nothing. Is this really living?" "It is safer than the alternative," Silas would reply, his eyes clouded with a fear he could no longer name. One day, a new forgetting swept through Oblivion. It was a larger one. People woke up and could not remember the concept of music. The wind chimes outside the tavern fell silent, not because there was no wind, but because no one understood their purpose anymore. The lullabies mothers had hummed to their children vanished from their minds, leaving a confused, wordless anxiety in their place. This loss struck Anya deeper than any before. Music had been her secret rebellion. She would sneak into the silent, dust-covered music hall and press the keys of the pianoforte, feeling the vibrations travel up her arms, a sensation so vivid it felt like a memory in itself. Driven by a desperate, reckless need, she went to the town's archive, a single, dusty room in the basement of the mayor's house. The books there were mostly blank, their pages empty as the memories they were meant to hold. But in a forgotten chest, she found a fragment, a scrap of parchment, brittle with age, with a single, embroidered sentence. "We owe our peace to the weaver in the web of years." And below it, a symbol, a complex, spiral loom, unlike any she had ever seen. Chapter 2. The Path of Threads. The phrase and the symbol ignited something in Anya. It was a clue, a crack in the featureless wall of her world. She showed it to Silas. The old man paled, his hands shaking so violently he dropped his tweezers. "No," he whispered. "You must burn this. Forget you ever saw it. Why? What is the weaver? What is the web of years? It is the source of the veil, Silas hissed, pulling her closer. The stories say it lives in the heart of the whispering wood, in a place where time has no meaning. It was a god of fate and memory, and we bargained with it. We traded our pasts for our futures. To seek it out is to risk unraveling everything. But what if everything is a lie? Anya countered, her voice fierce. What if we were meant for more than this grey silence? I am going to find it. Silas saw the unyielding fire in her eyes and knew he could not stop her. With a sigh of resignation, he spent the next 3 days, using his fading knowledge, building her a compass. But it had no needle. Instead, it had a single, long human hair, one of Anya's own, suspended in a glass sphere. It doesn't point north, he explained. It points towards you. Towards the weight of your own memories. The more you remember, the stronger it will pull you towards the source of all memory. It is a dangerous guide. It will lead you to the weaver, but it may also lead you to become hopelessly lost in yourself. Anya packed her journal, a little food, and the strange compass. At dawn, when the mist was thickest, she walked to the edge of the whispering wood. The trees were gnarled and ancient, their bark looking like wrinkled skin. The mist was thicker here, coiling around the trunks like serpents. As she stepped under the canopy, the sounds of the town vanished, replaced by an absolute, suffocating silence. The compass in her hand trembled. The hair within stirred, then slowly, surely, pointed a path deeper into the wood. She walked for hours, then what felt like days. Time became strange. The mist played tricks on her mind. She would see glimpses of her mother waving from the kitchen window, hear the echo of a friend's voice calling her name. These were not memories, but phantoms woven from the mist, designed to lure her off the path and into a peaceful, permanent forgetfulness. She clung to her journal. She would stop and read an entry, focusing on the concrete reality of the words. Today, Marta baked a honey cake. It smelled of warmth and sweetness. The memory was a talisman, a spark of true light in the false grey. The phantoms would recede, and the compass would steady. But the journey took its toll. With every step, she felt a pulling not just on her body, but on her mind. It was as if the veil was trying to reclaim the memories she carried, to smooth her out and make her like everyone else. She had to focus, to hold on to the sharp, painful edges of her past to keep from dissolving into the mist. Chapter 3, The Web of Years. Just as she felt her sanity beginning to fray, the trees parted. She stood on the edge of a vast, circular clearing. The mist was gone here, replaced by a clear, cold light that had no source. In the center of the clearing stood a structure that made her breath catch. It was the loom. It was colossal, larger than any building in Oblivion. It was made of a wood that shone like bone and threads that glimmered with every color imaginable, and some that had no name. The threads stretched from the loom up into the sky and down into the earth, vanishing into the fabric of reality itself. This was the web of years. Each thread was a life, a memory, a story. And before the loom sat the weaver. It was not a spider, nor was it human. It was a shifting, amorphous form that seemed to be made of the same substance as the threads, gossamer and light, yet impossibly old. It had countless slender limbs that moved with a hypnotic, graceful rhythm, plucking threads from the air, spinning them, and weaving them into the ever-growing tapestry on the loom. The tapestry was the veil, and the veil was the world. Anya approached, her heart pounding. The weaver did not turn, but a voice filled the clearing, a sound like the humming of the universe. You are heavy with memory, child. You carry more than your share. It is a burden you were not meant to bear. Are you the weaver? Anya asked, her voice small. I am the keeper of the pact. The guardian of the quiet peace. You walk a path of thorns. Why have you come to disturb the silence? I want to know the truth, Anya said, finding her courage. I want to know what we forgot. I want the memories back for my people. The weaver's rhythm faltered for a single, terrifying second. A thread snapped with a sound like a dying star. You ask for poison and call it nectar. The memories you seek are of sorrow, of loss, of a despair so profound it would curdle your soul. The gloom is not gone. It waits, just beyond the veil, pressing in. Your town, Oblivion, is a bastion of nothingness in a sea of agony. To remember is to open the gates. Then show me, Anya challenged, stepping closer. If it is so terrible, show me what we forgot. Let me decide if the price of this peace is worth it. The weaver was silent for a long time. The only sound was the whisper shuttle of the loom. To see is to remember. And to remember is to take the weight upon yourself. You may break under it. You may become a vessel for the very despair you wish to defy. Is your curiosity worth your soul? Anya thought of the silent wind chimes, the forgotten lullabies, the hollow eyes of her parents. She thought of her journal, filled with the fragile, beautiful echoes of a life half-lived. Yes, she said. Chapter 4, The Weight of a World's Sorrow. A single, silver thread descended from the loom and touched Anya's forehead. The world dissolved. She was no longer in the clearing. She was everywhere and everywhen. She saw the coming of the gloom not as a story, but as a visceral, sensory overload. She felt the farmer's despair as his fields turned to dust and his children starved in his arms. She felt the artist's agony as his beautiful paintings melted into formless black sludge. She heard the screams of mothers whose infants were born still and cold, their tiny hearts frozen by a hopelessness they had inhaled from the air. She felt the slow, creeping dread as philosophers and kings realized that nothing mattered, that joy was a fleeting illusion, and that the universe was vast, cold, and indifferent. It was not a single moment, but 1,000 years of accumulated grief. The weight of it was immense, crushing the air from her lungs. She felt her own mind beginning to crack, to fray at the edges like old cloth. This was what the veil held back. This was the ocean of sorrow in which oblivion was a single, fragile bubble. She saw the desperate prayers of her ancestors, their faces etched with a terror so complete it was a physical force. And she saw the pact being made. She saw the weaver, younger then, its form brighter, offering its solution. She saw the first threads of forgetting being drawn from the people, the relief on their faces as the pain receded, replaced by a gentle, grey blankness. The vision ended, and Anya collapsed to her knees, sobbing. She had been arrogant. She had not understood. The peace of oblivion was not a coward choice, it was the only choice. You see, the weaver's voice was not triumphant, but infinitely weary. The burden of memory is the burden of pain. I do not steal your past out of malice, but out of mercy. I carry the weight so you do not have to. Anya looked up, tears streaming down her face. She had seen the truth. But she had also seen something else, something she hadn't noticed before, buried under the mountain of sorrow. You're dying, she whispered. The weaver stilled. Anya pointed a trembling finger at the loom. She had seen it in the vision. The weaver, in the act of creating the veil, had not just taken the memories of the people. It had woven their capacity for memory into the tapestry itself. It had become the sole repository, the guardian of a world's pain. And the weight of it was slowly, inexorably, pulling it apart. Some of its threads were frayed. Others had turned a dull, dead grey. The weaver was sacrificing its own existence to maintain the silence. All things that are woven must one day unravel, it said softly. The pact was forever, but I am not. Chapter 5, The New Pattern. Anya stood, her body still shaking, but her mind clear. She had come for answers and found a truth more terrible and beautiful than she could have imagined. The people of Oblivion had not been saved by a powerful god, but by a sacrificing one. Their peace was built on a foundation of solitary, endless suffering. She could not ask it to continue, and she could not let her people continue in their grey half-life, not knowing the cost. I have a different bargain, Anya said, her voice strong now. The weaver listened. Give the memories back, she said. Not all at once. Slowly, gently, weave them back into the tapestry of our lives. But not just the sorrow. Weave back the joy that was there too. The love that existed alongside the loss. The hope that fought the despair. The gloom will return, the weaver warned. It might, Anya conceded. But we will face it together. We will face it with the memory of what we lost, and the knowledge of what we have to lose. A life lived in a cage is not a life. Let us be whole again, let us feel the sun, even if it means we must also feel the storm. She walked up to the great loom. And let me help you carry the weight. She reached out and, before the weaver could stop her, she placed her hand upon the central beam of the loom. A shockwave of pure experience, every memory the weaver held, flooded into her. The sorrow was there, vast and oceanic. But so was the rest. The taste of the first harvest after a long winter. The joy of a wedding dance. The fierce, protective love of a parent. The wonder of a sky full of stars. It was all there, the full, terrible, and magnificent spectrum of human feeling. She did not break. She anchored herself in her own collected memories. The smell of the honey cake, the sound of the blacksmith's laugh. They were tiny, personal things, but they were her foundation. She did not fight the flood. She let it flow through her, sharing the burden with the weaver. The weaver watched her, its form shimmering with a new, unknown emotion. You were a strange thread, it hummed. Unyielding. You would reweave the world. Not alone, Anya gasped, her knuckles white as she held on. We will do it together. The weaver hesitated for a final, eternal moment. Then, it resumed its work. But the rhythm changed. It was no longer a monotonous, grey drone. It became a complex, beautiful, and heartbreaking symphony. It began to carefully, lovingly, unspin the veil. Epilogue: The First Rain. In Oblivion, Old Man Hemlock was tending his silent garden when he felt a drop of water on his cheek. He looked up, confused. Rain? But the mist never fell as rain. Then another drop fell. And another. A soft, gentle rain began to fall, washing the perpetual grey from the leaves, revealing a color he had not seen in decades: green. In the town square, the wind chimes, coated in dust, began to chime as the rain touched them. The sound was hesitant at first, then clearer. People came to their doors, their faces upturned, not in fear, but in wonder. They felt the water on their skin, a sensation both new and hauntingly familiar. A woman standing in the rain suddenly began to cry. She didn't know why, but a memory had surfaced, clear as glass. Her mother, singing in the rain, holding her hand and spinning her in circles. The memory was bittersweet, filled with a love that was gone and a joy that was, for a moment, regained. The silence was broken. In her attic, Anya opened her eyes. She was home. She did not remember the journey back. She was exhausted, her mind a library of 1,000 lifetimes. She was now the keeper, the rememberer. It would be her task to guide her people through the return of their past, to help them bear the sorrow and celebrate the joy. She looked out her window at the raining town. She saw the confusion, the dawning recognition, the first, tentative smiles. It would be a painful, difficult awakening. The gloom might yet test them. But they were no longer ghosts in a grey world. They were alive. The weavers, both the ancient god and the young woman, had chosen a new pattern. It was a pattern not of quiet peace, but of resilient, feeling, messy, and beautiful life. And as the first rainbow arced over the valley of Oblivion, Anya knew, with a certainty that filled her soul, that it was a bargain worth making.
If you feel a chill down your spine, don't worry. They're just standing behind you, listening with you. Thank you for daring to enter the world of fairy tales of Nim. We'll see you again next night, if you're still around.